Isn't that's the Starbucks color?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I was like.
And I'm white, so that is a special.
Wow, not all white people work at Starbucks.
No.
The majority, though,
Yeah.
tend to work.
Really? Majority of white people work at Starbucks? I don't
I
believe
mean, from
that.
where I'm from, it seems like.
I think where you're from, the majority of people are just white.
TV.
City, but you're absolutely right about the surrounding hundreds of nothing lands in Florida. There's like nothing going on there.
Wait, you got flair?
Oh yeah. Step up.
Yeah, flair.
I don't know. I'm in the process of doing something.
Why don't you just make the minimum 37 pieces of flair?
Well, I thought I remembered you saying that you wanted to express yourself.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do. I do want to express myself. Okay? And I don't need 37 pieces of flair to do it. All right? There's my flair, okay? And this is me expressing myself, okay?
I have some.
We're gonna have to step up.
I already had these.
You're in
buttons.
between flares.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I had more buttons, but I didn't want to overdo it.
Well, I mean, you could share some of the buttons.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys want some silly buttons? This is like from Katamari.
God
and
damn
this
it,
is,
everything has to be a button!
So the last episode of No TV was 45 minutes or something long. So we're gonna try to keep like each of the categories a little shorter. One to kind of give us the sense of urgency. All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of No TV. Each one of us is going to have one topic that we're gonna bring up, and that topic is actually a mystery to the other 2. Okay, so. She wants to go last. Jasmine wants to go last. Who knows what her topic is?
It's not gonna be exciting, but I just wanted to go last.
It sounds exciting. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna explain the topic and what it is, and then we'll go into discussion.
Do you think that an artificial intelligence's art should be valued the same way that a human's art should be valued? Like, and by value I mean like the actual financial value of it, like on a market. If you were to sell an oil painting made by an AI that was given like 2 robotic arms to make a painting, should that cost just as much as an identical painting that was made by a human?
Well, you've said it in the previous episode when we were talking about Jackson Pollock about art is the value of art is who's willing to pay for it, right? So if there is some tech startup person out there that goes, oh, this is the first art from this AI, I'll buy it for $5 million. And that instantly gives credibility and value to that AI's work. And then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's gonna be some kid that had his own startup, became a millionaire by the time he was 20, that's trying to get the newest stuff to make BuzzFeed's headline, or whatever, and then so he buys the first AI painting, for $5 million, and it's all over the news because it's a record-breaking price for the first AI print. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some thresholds that need to be crossed first from that AI intelligence itself before it is even considered to be kind of on its own, instead of, because most AI is pre-programmed already before before it executes certain tasks, so yeah.
Yeah, I think once we come up with more organic artificial intelligences, then we can probably start asking these questions. But we don't even know very much how these intelligences will express themselves yet. They may have an intelligence that's very different from ours, that expresses in a totally different way its feelings once it develops the capacity to have feelings. Which, by the way, I think most of our feelings come from our endocrine system, so I don't know how I don't know how an AI could be given those feelings that we have, because they don't have the hormones that we have and stuff that make us have feelings. So
yeah,
who knows how?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's a huge line between organic intelligence, creating something off of emotion or beauty that it finds beauty, and a printer. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to separate that AI from receiving mass amounts of information of art, and then it puts into translation of what it thinks is art. You have to be able to separate that for it to go, okay, I perceive beauty in this sense. So it has to take a form of intelligence on a level where it is not connected. It has to be completely disconnected from someone's programming or someone's influence or even our own influence. But it can absorb information from, let's say, modern art, past art, any historical art, but it has to be able to, in a sense, dream.
Yeah. And Google has made a dreaming AI. They made an artificial intelligence that is able to synthesize an idea. So like they'll say like, you know, they'll ask the computer what they think an arm looks like after showing it tens of thousands of pictures of arms. And sometimes the pictures, like, sometimes the images are weird because, you know, they'll see so many pictures with like an arm holding a barbell, and then they'll imagine like this weird barbell fusion with an arm. Yeah, and like they've had this same artificial intelligence dream up entire like compositions of ideas, and it'll like fuse ideas, you know, and they've come up with like, I don't know, I'll show you guys later the pictures, or you know, you can put it on the video, like superimpose it. But they're really interesting, the pictures that this AI like has come up with.
But then like the infusion of arm to barbell is already great. Okay, that, you know, is really abstract of it. But then also it goes, okay, so that machine has not learned enough to be considered a full capable AI to separate barbell arm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, I understand.
They're weird sometimes. I saw some pictures that have like 2 elbows, and it's like it's not just an elbow and a wrist, it's like 2 elbows, you know?
Yeah.
Like it does, I agree that it's not that the artificial intelligence understands that there's like bones in here and like what arms are in here. It just knows like the general shape of an arm, you know? And then like the colors that arms generally have. I mean, which is a whole spectrum of colors, but yeah.
What do you think, Jazz?
I don't really have much on that.
AI talk.
It's a weird.
It's I don't know. It's, I mean, I guess in itself, an AI being able to create something is already pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think
Art
so too.
is like a different thing. Just because like art for me is just
Whatever, man.
already a topic that's just like, yeah, it's
Art
in
could be
the eye.
anything.
Yeah, it's in the eye of the beholder at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And if you do it with like a robot, I feel like it's like not emotional.
Yeah.
You know, there's no emotions in it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, like
probably
that's what
not.
I'm saying. It's like a printer at
Yeah.
that point. Then like, oh, this robot just printed something that could be considered art, you know, at that point. I need to know what's behind, like if the AI was completely separated from everything and it's standalone, which we're far from that point. I don't know what the term is for an AI that will pass the Turing test that no one can control. You know, so, and then it learns on its own. Then whatever it's capable of, you know, then it's life itself. It's capable of learning life and something organic. Then then let it create art. And then I'm also really afraid of an AI creating anything, to be honest.
Yeah, developing the idea that it has the power to create things.
Yeah,
I feel like at that point it could also have the idea that it can destroy things. Like it's like the other side of the coin.
Yeah,
you know,
or
if it can build things.
it
like
can create itself. It can duplicate itself, manifest itself, multiple manifestations of itself under one hive rule, and then embed itself in multiple systems all at once. And then we're trying to, you know, swat flies at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Can I like play devil's advocate for just like a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like as an artist, a lot of art in the past has been essentially humans being printers, and this isn't me trying to devalue the art, but I feel like, so if you put an artificial intelligence that had some sort of camera on it, you know, like some sort of sensory organ, like its eyeball, you know, a camera, and you put it in front of a scene of people eating lunch or like having a picnic at a park, and then you asked it to paint a picture, like you gave it an arm and, you know, access to brushes and paints and a canvas, and you asked it to paint, you know, that life that is in front of it, that picnic that's going on. If it accurately is not necessary, but if it painted that, like, isn't that exactly what people have been doing for like thousands of years?
But people, right? So, but people, their translation of what they're actually seeing has many factors of just one, if they're limited to a certain color spectrum, how they see it, how they perceive it, and they bring it in, and then choices. I think choices are what is translated onto that page. The choices of what color shade that will be acceptable to them when they see that orange, and that shade's fine, and they go, okay, that shade's fine, and I think this is filled in just fine to their emotion. To someone else's choice would have probably been a little different in the color choice and the shape choice or whatever. So that comes with growing up or seeing something, taking all this certain information, making decisions in your life constantly, and then coming to this point where you're sitting to make that painting. All right, let's move on to, I mean, you guys got any final conclusions about if robots can, or AI can create art and then it being sold? And I come to the conclusion that, yeah, I mean, someone out there, some young tech startup is going to be like, hang it on his wall to have a conversation piece that he bought the first painting, and it'll go for millions. Like the first one will go for a lot of money just because the first person, because of just a bidding war of who's going to have the first one.
I personally think that like from the art that I've seen, from specifically the artificial intelligence that Google developed to Dream, as they were sort of saying in the media about it, I think that's really interesting. And even though it is synthesized from images that already existed, I think that's evidence of the fact that AI will eventually be able to have creative decisions, to make creative decisions, and I think eventually we'll get to the point where artificial intelligence will be able to physically make art based off of abstract ideas that it came up with on its own after we, set it off and started it. And I think that it will be very cool, and I will appreciate it. Even as an artist, I don't mind competing with AIs.
It's pretty cool. I don't know, I find it interesting. I'll see if I see something like an AI painting, I'll think it's cool. I personally won't buy it, but I'll think it's cool, and I'll go about my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But the thing is that trickle down effect of you actually getting a piece of something that an AI created would be so, like, we're so far from that.
Yeah.
But we can also be so close to that. Like, the near future comes so fast. Like, 3D printers are in multiple people's homes, like, that quick. And it was just like a concept that just came up, and then all of a sudden, people can print anything out of their homes. Yeah. So, like,
fairly cheaply at this point.
Yeah, and then like a 32 gigabyte like memory card like used to cost like $500. Now the same card you can get like 5 terabytes in it, and it costs like $60. You know what I'm saying? Like technology advances so fast to the point where like we could have AI art in our home that was just a randomly generated image of some sorts, and then it just pushed it out, and people are like, wow, that's really well balanced, or the color chosen, or whatever. It just talks to us. If an AI can actually make art that talks to us more than an artist can talk to us, and that's almost scary. So it like
that means it understands us.
It understands what we enjoy by using analytics, and that's crazy. But can you imagine?
Maybe its own intelligence, maybe its own interest.
True, it could be its own interest, but then maybe but the day that an AI explains its art would be the day that I would go, I'll buy that. Yeah. No,
I agree. And I honestly feel like an artificial intelligence could get to that point within a matter of hours. I think if you had the right resources and you had the right program to begin with, I think honestly an AI could go from being an unintelligible software that isn't able to articulate itself whatsoever to a super intelligent, relatable intelligence within a matter of days, I think. Because of how they can build their neuro systems,
Yeah.
And how it depends on how much information they have access to. Because there's also the issue of it gaining the intelligence. I mean, if we hooked up an AI to the internet, which is its own conversation altogether. But if we were to do that, I feel like it could easily get more intelligent than a very intelligent person within a matter of days. Or maybe hours.
I think that's just a scary thought. I mean, that would be the best way for it to actually acquire information is by being connected to the internet. But then it could read
every Wikipedia article in an hour.
So what happens?
Every Wikipedia article that exists in an hour.
Or even faster than that with quantum computing. An AI that is smart enough that passed the Turing test, and then it can be considered like self-sustaining artificial intelligence, then the information that it has to be given has to be fed by specialists that probably have to go through like multiple layers of psychological evaluations, or have psychiatrists come in to go, okay, what kind of AI that we want to build and create here. So it would be limited to what it's fed, you know, too, as well. And then my second thought was, I can't imagine that AI like tapping into like 3D printers and then actually making something, like creating an actual physical thing from a 3D printer. That would be crazy. So, but if that like AI can make from 3D printers, then they're gonna like, okay, what else can it do? And then they tap it into like a real production line, like a car or whatever. It could ultimately make like the safest, most indestructible, like user-friendly car there is out there too as well, because it doesn't have the limitations of the human mind, especially with quantum computing. So
I think we can take a lesson from Mega Man though, because we need to make sure that these artificial intelligences, or at least we need to, I think we should try to limit the amount of like creative freedoms they have, because they may not be sensitive to like pain and stuff, you know, sometimes. Like, so in Mega Man there are robots that are sentient that should not be sentient. I watched a video from this channel on YouTube called Polygon recently, where this guy named Brian Gilbert analyzed Mega Man robots that are sentient, and he determined whether they should or shouldn't be sentient. And there were some robots, like a crash test dummy, which they made sentient. Like, its whole purpose is to experience suffering so that we don't have to. Why would you want that to be sentient? You know, like and this was this is a fictional case, but you know, what if
you want that to have those receptors, because you want to know what causes bodily harm, what pain or what kind of damage it would inflict on a human body too, though. So.
I feel like we can do that without making it sentient, though. Like, we don't have to make it realize that it's in pain. We can just build something that has sensors all over its body just to like calculate how much force is being applied to it without it having a mind that can reflect on the fact that somebody put it in a car and then deliberately crashed that car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I feel like an AI could make
saying.
a decision like that. You know, they could think, well, if it can feel, then it can tell us how it feels about this, and it can make decisions based on things that are not necessarily considering emotional things, such as suffering.
I can't imagine like that actually being a thing, just because like I don't want to see a crash test dummy like screaming in pain.
Like program like an agony, like
The louder it screams, the more pain it's experiencing. That was a loud one. That must have been really painful.
Have you guys ever seen Blade Runner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because
I have a hard copy of it.
Because in Blade Runner, like even Deckard himself doesn't know that if he is like an android or not, with like artificial intelligence inside of him.
Mm-hmm.
So like it is based on, the hard copy is Dream of Electric Sheep, right?
I got it recently from a thrift store, and it says Blade Runner on it.
Oh, okay, because like the actual book that it was adapted from was like do robots dream of electric sleep or something like that. The actual androids, they can't have dreams, you know. So but Deckard has dreams, so he's like, people are saying that he's the advanced model of that AI. So it doesn't know, because AIs don't know if they're like these androids that have AI in them. They don't know that they're androids, because that's how real their memories seem and everything that's been programmed into them. So I think that when it gets to that point where they believe to the point where they are human enough that they don't know that they're machine, then their art could be just acceptable as to like art that we create.
It could be spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it could be better, honestly, than our art. You know, we have humans now who are, I feel funny like speaking so objectively, you know, those species.
Those humans.
Yeah, we have people now that they draw with a pen in a 3D space with one of the the AR glasses, you know?
Yeah.
They'll have the virtual reality glasses.
Yeah.
And they'll draw in a 3D space.
Yeah.
You know, what if we were to give an AI something like that? You know, give them one of those pens.
God, it would be a masterpiece in there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We could make a whole room.
Or it could be
full
super
of art.
dark. It could be, like whatever.
Which could still be a masterpiece.
Whatever its mind is at that time, or whatever its information that's been fed. Can you imagine going, okay, let's have this AI randomly generate this virtual space, and then no one's seen it, and then you put that virtual VR helmet on for the first time and you walk through this space. Can you imagine what you would see, or what kind of feeling you would get? Like, that is so immersive to the point where it's like, because you're isolated with headphones and this visual block, so you're completely immersed in this space, so you're going to get that feeling of whatever is supposed to be translated with that art.
Yeah.
So
Just like a person would.
yeah, I feel like that would be scary as hell.
I would love it.
It might
would
be the
love
most
to do it.
beautiful, crippling thing where you'll like cry because
Yeah.
you just can't understand the level of beauty that it has in there.
Yeah, for sure. I went to a museum in Tampa before I moved here, Tampa, Florida, and there was this installation by a woman. I unfortunately don't remember her name, but she was Japanese, and she had written a poem in Japanese, and she had this room which was its own installation, and there were mirrors everywhere. The floor was a mirror, the ceiling was a mirror, all the walls were mirrors, and she had
Oh,
these,
yeah. Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I forgot. She was in Seattle too.
Really?
She's a traveler.
Oh yeah, she moves around.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she's been to New York as well.
Mhm.
But I saw one of her installations in Tampa, and it was incredibly beautiful. And there was music, there was poetry being spoken through speakers that were like all around the room.
The full senses, basically.
Yeah, and there was like lighting, you know, and some of the lights came out of the sculptures, like the structures that she had. They're like stalactites and stalagmites with lines painted around them, essentially. Not to like, I don't mean to like whittle it down to like a simple idea. It's super interesting, but like, what if an AI did that?
Can
What
you-
if they made poetry and
Can
music?
can you imagine the first AI art show, like room
I
to
would
room?
love it.
But so coming back, like even like reeling it back too, like there's Instagram followers, there's like computer generated models, people that have been computer generated that have millions of followings like on Instagram, and then they'll just like computer generate them with like, you know, Louis Vuitton bags or just like modeling, and it's like you would look at it and you're like, wow, that is a beautiful like person, like beautiful, but then you find out that it's all just computer generated, and
You can't
it's
tell that it's a CGI.
well, you can if you were told, I think, but yeah, I mean, after then you're like, oh, then you see it, you know, but like we worship that, or we're waiting for some like supreme intelligence, or of just what like a perceived beauty that can just be created to follow and to understand. So that's already happening. So you put a mind to that, or you know, like some sort of AI into that, and give it the internet access. Like, I mean, people would worship it.
That would
which
be
is
fascinating.
Crazy.
I think it's nice to have just like a model that is just a 3D model and nothing more. It doesn't have any intelligence, because that model will never get tired. It will never want to quit. It'll never be busy. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the best model, because I mean, I don't want to say the best
and then
model,
you can
but
shape it to however you want for the poses of the ad, and you can add on to
plus
whatever
size
you want with the
clothing, thin
ad.
people,
Mhm.
short people, tall people.
Yeah.
You can it's just a matter of like making the model taller, or like, you know, making it stouter.
I mean, but then I could see like even in the future of lines being crossed there too, or people uprising that's on the other side of going, well, now you're making like the, you know, this how we should look even more exaggerated and more like difficult to
true.
reach, another harder goal, you know what I mean? Like now we have to go to the point where we're like doing body mods, you know, of digitalizing ourselves in
Yeah.
all our photos at that point, you know.
Yeah.
So
And we already have an issue with that, even with just real people being edited digitally.
yeah, true. All right, so you want to end this AI art topic?
Yes, yeah. We've already went way over, I think, from what you were saying you wanted to do.
Oh,
I mean,
we
I would
definitely went
love to
over.
talk
We
about it.
definitely went over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we could go on more about it, maybe in another time. But yeah, like the AI stuff is pretty cool. All right, guys. So that's it for no.
TV.
TV.
Did she say TP?
TV.
TP.
TV.
All right, so that was episode 2. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any of the you know, things you want to also discuss, leave them in the comments. So if you have your thoughts or opinions on the topics that we went over, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more, like episode 3. So there's going to be things down in the description. Yeah, and then Google's Dreaming AI, and it's maybe a link to the arm bell or the dumbbell arm image.
Yeah.
All right, so that will be in the description. Thank you again, guys. No TV. Bye. Magic fingers.
This is Dark Souls. The best character in Dark Souls.
Nice.
Yes.
Calamari, I like.
No, Katamari. Calamari is good though, as well. Oh, that's great.
I actually don't think he was making fun of you. I think he was saying like, what are you gonna hotbox your cat in there, you know, like for summertime?
I remember that.
Yeah. This was not sponsored by Pop-Tarts. Wait, is Pop-Tarts Pop-Tarts? They're just called Pop-Tarts?
Yeah.
Oh, this whole time.
What?
You know, I thought it was just like a branding thing. You know how like Q-Tips is actually a brand, but not the actual.
Band-Aid is also a brand.